Following the German invasion of Poland in September 1939, occupying forces swiftly implemented policies aimed at dismantling Polish society and eliminating its leadership. Warsaw fell under German control, and a systematic campaign of terror began against its population. Part of a broader operation known as Intelligenzaktion, German authorities targeted Polish political leaders, academics, artists, clergy, professionals, and other members of the Intelligentsia for arrest and execution. Jewish citizens were also specifically targeted, alongside Poles deemed threats to German rule. During this period, the Kampinos forest, specifically a clearing near the village of Palmiry located approximately 30 kilometers northwest of Warsaw, was selected as a clandestine site for mass executions. Its secluded location, shielded by dense woods, made it suitable for concealing these atrocities from the wider public. Beginning in December 1939 and continuing intensely through the spring and summer of 1940, transports carrying prisoners arrived frequently at Palmiry. Victims were often arrested during night raids or roundups in Warsaw, held temporarily in prisons like Palmiry, and then driven to the forest under heavy guard. The process was methodical. Prisoners, frequently unaware of their final destination, were unloaded from trucks. German Schutzstaffel or SS and Ordnungspolizei units would lead the condemned individuals, often with their hands tied and sometimes hooded, towards pre-dug pits in the forest floor. Executions were typically carried out using machine guns. The victims included men and women from diverse backgrounds: mayors, professors, teachers, doctors, lawyers, priests, and even prominent athletes like Olympic gold medalist Janusz Kusacinski. One notable execution involved Maciej Radej, a former marshal of the Sejm, the Polish parliament. The largest and most documented massacres at Palmiry occurred primarily between December 7, 1939, and July 17, 1941. It is estimated that over 2,100 individuals were murdered in the forest clearings during this timeframe. Operations were conducted with attempts at secrecy. After the shootings, the mass graves were covered, leveled, and camouflaged with pine seedlings or moss by units of the Reich Labor Service, aiming to erase any trace of the killings. Local Polish foresters, however, often marked the locations discreetly. Subsequently, after the conclusion of World War II, thanks to the efforts of the Polish Red Cross and the testimonies of witnesses, the mass graves were located and exhumed starting on November 25, 1945. The remains were identified where possible and reinterred, establishing the Palmiry National Memorial Cemetery to commemorate the victims of the wartime massacres. The German policy, Operation Ob Außerordentliche Befriedungsaktion, or Extraordinary Pacification Action, which intensified in the spring of 1940, explicitly aimed to decapitate Polish society by removing its potential leaders and sources of resistance. Palmiry became a key execution ground for fulfilling that objective within the Warsaw district. Responsibility for organizing and carrying out the executions lay primarily with the Sicherheitspolizei, or SIPO, encompassing the Gestapo and Kripo, along with units of the Sicherheitsdienst, the SD, and the Ordnungspolizei. These forces operated under the authority of the SS and police leader for the Warsaw district. Prisoners held in Warsaw's Palmiry prison or the Massacre prison often endured brutal interrogations and harsh conditions before their final transport. Many were taken without any formal charges or trial, selected based on lists compiled by German security services targeting specific social and professional groups. The executions themselves were conducted with ruthless efficiency. Groups of 10 to 20 individuals were typically marched to the pits and shot. The sounds of the gunfire were often muffled by the surrounding forest, though nearby Polish residents sometimes heard distant volleys. Eyewitness accounts from Polish forest workers, compelled to assist in digging or camouflaging the graves under duress, later proved crucial in locating the burial sites. Their secret efforts to mark the locations allowed for the eventual exhumations. Resistance during the process was nearly impossible due to the heavy guard, the element of surprise or deception used during transport, and the weakened state of the prisoners. Any attempt at defiance was met with immediate violence. Throughout the period, a climate of terror permeated Warsaw. Random street roundups, known as lapanki, added to the pervasive fear, as anyone could be seized and potentially end up among the victims transported to places like Palmiry. The Palmiry massacres were not an isolated event, but part of a widespread German strategy across occupied Poland. Similar operations targeting Polish elites and perceived enemies occurred in various locations, contributing to the immense loss of life during the occupation. After the war, the meticulous work of identifying victims and establishing the Palmiry National Memorial Cemetery served not only as an act of remembrance, but also as a testament to the crimes committed. It remains a solemn site commemorating the systematic elimination of Poland's intellectual and cultural backbone during World War II. The individuals targeted represented a deliberate cross-section of Polish leadership and cultural life. Among those murdered were university rectors, engineers, political activists affiliated with various pre-war parties, and members of the clergy who provided moral guidance. Jewish Poles were also systematically included in the transports to Palmiry. They faced persecution not only as Poles, but also under the specific anti-Semitic ideology of the Third Reich, making them targets for elimination alongside the Polish Intelligentsia. German authorities rationalized these killings as necessary security measures to prevent Polish resistance and ensure control over the occupied territory. They viewed the educated and influential classes as the primary source of potential opposition to German rule. As events unfolded, news of the disappearances and rumored executions began to circulate within Warsaw's underground networks. However, the clandestine nature of the Palmiry operation and the general chaos of the occupation made confirming details extremely difficult during the war years. International awareness of specific events like the Palmiry massacres was limited at the time. Information often trickled out slowly and was difficult to verify amidst the broader context of wartime atrocities across Europe. The systematic nature of the killings, targeting specific social strata, aimed to cripple Polish society's ability to organize or maintain its cultural identity under occupation. The loss of so many skilled professionals and leaders had profound long-term consequences for post-war Poland. While major figures orchestrated the broader Intelligenzaktion and Operation OB, the specific personnel involved in the Palmiry shootings often included rank-and-file members of SS and police units stationed in Warsaw. Post-war efforts sought to bring some perpetrators to justice, though many escaped accountability. The legacy of Palmiry underscores the brutality of the German occupation strategy in Poland. It stands as a stark example of the attempt to eradicate a nation's elite as a means of subjugation and control. During this period, the secrecy surrounding the transports and the unknown fate of those arrested created immense anxiety among the population of Warsaw. Families desperately sought information about missing relatives, often met with silence or outright deception from German authorities. The selection process within prisons like Palmiry was arbitrary from the prisoner's perspective. Names would be called, individuals taken away with little explanation, leaving remaining inmates in constant fear of being next on the list for Palmiry or another execution site. German efforts to maintain secrecy extended to intimidating local Polish populations near the forest. Witnesses were threatened, and any perceived attempt to observe German activities near Palmiry could result in severe punishment, including death. The discovery and exhumation process after World War II was a painstaking task. Forensic teams worked carefully to recover remains from the mass graves, often finding personal effects like identity documents, glasses, or rings that aided in identification. Testimonies collected during post-war investigations provided chilling accounts of the final moments. Survivors from Palmiry recalled farewells whispered in cells, knowing their colleagues were being taken to an almost certain death, even if the exact location remained unknown to them at the time. Subsequently, the identified victims were given proper burials at the newly established memorial cemetery. The scale of the loss became tragically clear as lists of names grew, confirming the systematic destruction of a significant portion of Poland's pre-war intellectual and professional class. In the years following the war, the Palmiry site became a symbol of Nazi Germany's crimes against the Polish nation. It serves as a crucial place of remembrance, highlighting the specific targeting of cultural and societal leaders during the occupation.